Welcome into the Skinny Podcast. It's the weekly Potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor with Rick Brewing. As always, it's presented by Blake, the attorney Mason. We got some Bengals to talk about. Oh, do we have some Bengals to talk about? We have a narrative trading for a washed-up quarterback to talk about that just is driving me up the wall. The Reds doing Reds-like things, getting your hopes up and then trying to quash them all in one fell swoop, but still having hope because you can't kill them off and they're still alive for the playoffs. We got a college football segment, because we didn't have college football locally this past weekend other than Miami losing to UNLV. And, of course, our betting segment and a hashtag AskSkinnyAnything where you can go to the Twitterverse, ask me a question on any topic. I am happy to answer that. Rick, we got so much to get to and so much time, so let's get to it.
Yeah, the Bengals lost the Vikings 48-10 on Sunday. They lost the turnover battle 5-0 in that game. It was the most lopsided margin of defeat for a Bengals team in franchise history, Skinny. What do you make of the way they rolled over in that game? I've been listening to all the different talk shows out there, the podcasts, social media narratives. I've heard a lot of different things. Is it a team of guys licking their wounds and feeling sorry for themselves because Burrow was out? Is it a group of guys who didn't believe in Jake Browning? Is it a group of guys who have such little respect for Zach Taylor that they just quit on him and didn't seem to focus and care about that game? I've heard a lot of takes. What is your takeaway from it all?
I don't think they quit. That's an easy narrative, right? The two drives in the second half, I mean, they did get steamrolled, but I don't think it's a good defense against the run. So there's that. I don't think it's a matter of quitting. They're just not very good.
What did you make of the fumble situation when you're fumbling the ball like 3 times in 3 drives or whatever it was?
How many times have you watched Samaje Perine fumble? Not much.
Very rare. And they broke his thumb to do it, too. That's the other
Correct.
problem. Yeah.
Jamar Chase had fumbled 5 times in his career before he lost the fumble. I don't know Noah Fant well enough to know if he's a fumbler. He's probably not. Good old reliable veteran. So 3 guys who you don't count on. That's not quitting. That's just that's sometimes happenstance, circumstance in the NFL. Weird stuff happens in the NFL. How do you account for Atlanta going into Minnesota the Sunday night before, winning 22-6, then losing to Carolina 30-0? How do you account for the Baltimore Ravens scoring 40 points and 30 points in 2 different games this year and losing them both? The NFL's weird, man. It's weird. I'm not here to tell you the Bengals don't have issues, and we're going to get to some of those issues. But that turnover thing was just a snowball, and it's inexplicable. And I think that's where everybody tries to have hot takes of explaining it. There's no explaining. It's just the NFL. I mean,
I think that's probably right.
What's that?
I think that's probably right. But Skinny, you just mentioned it's 3 guys who don't typically fumble. For all of them to fumble in short succession like that, couldn't you give some credence to the idea that like maybe there is a little bit of a wind out of their sails situation where guys are like, man, we're not moving the ball at all. We can't run the ball. Joe's not here. Like there's a little bit of a letdown type thing going on there potentially, a little bit of lack of focus, something.
Noah Fant had the ball taken away from him. That dude had the day of his life, Isaiah Rodgers. Again, Jamar doesn't fumble, but he fumbled. To your point, they broke Samaje's thumb to make him fumble. I mean, so some of it's just inexplicable stuff that happens in the NFL. Again, we're going to get to the issues they have, and there are issues. There's no question about that, and the main one being the run game at the moment. So, no, I think Jake Browning said it best, and no one has to believe this. It is only 1 loss. I mean, that's all it counts for. It feels like it's like the season just caved in the matter of about 15 minutes, yeah. Right? The end of the first half, beginning of that season is done. It's caved in. Okay, maybe it will, and it still has a chance to, without question, because – I mean, it's hard for me to look to a path to them winning the next handful of games based on who they're playing and where they're playing them. But, a 15-minute scenario shouldn't define a whole season. A whole season should define a season. I get people's panic. I do. But I explain it away. It's just the NFL is weird. How do you explain Green Bay, arguably the chic pick to win a Super Bowl? I pick them to win the Super Bowl. Going to Cleveland and losing a 10-point lead with 4 minutes to go. How do you explain that? You can't.
Joe Flacco.
Right, Joe Flacco. That's what happened.
Yeah, Joe Flacco happened. He's elite. People forget that.
Here's one thing. How do you explain all the block kicks in the NFL on Sunday? A league where you don't have very many block kicks, and yet you had some significant block kicks that were the Cleveland blocked the field goal. The Philly one to end the game and get the cover. The Jets blocking a field goal and returning for a touchdown. The NFL can be weird at times, and this past Sunday was weird.
I think what this game showed, though, is there are a lot of people who are trying to put on a brave face. We still got a chance. We're 2-0. Jake Browning might be good enough with all these weapons around him to still get this thing done. And most of them didn't really believe what they were saying. Because as soon as things went south for a few minutes, people completely lost their minds and turned on it. So I think
Yeah.
that kind of tells you where they were actually at confidence-wise.
No, the part that is distressing is the fact that they just can't run the ball. And I don't know what the answer is to fix that. We've seen it before. They've changed schemes. They've gone from wide zone to pin and pull. They've done different. Went to RPOs that one year, which was pretty effective to get the run game going. I don't know what the answer is this time around. I really don't, because this is 3 games now where they just can't run it and outs. And that's where I know now the manager, Jake Browning sucks, always knew he sucked. No, put a lot of quarterbacks in that scenario. Hell, go back to week 1. Bengals couldn't run the football up in Cleveland other than the first drive. How'd Joe Burrow do up there? He looked great, didn't he? He looked like all pro Joe. No, he didn't. So if you can't run the ball in that environment, where that place, I'm telling you, I love that place. It's a kind of a open air press box, so you hear the noise just like everybody else does, and I mean it rocks. Jake Browning's first half, I don't have it in front of me, but he faced, I believe, 7 third downs in the first half. None were shorter than 5 yards to go. Yeah. You get in that environment with 3rd and 5 plus on a consistent basis, you're going to struggle. So the answer to me, they got to figure out a way to fix the run game, and I wish I had an answer for you because I don't.
Well, and that was their MO coming into that game. I think Tony Romo repeated it 1,000 times that like 3rd and 7 or longer or something like that. They had not given up a single one yet this year until the Bengals got one
in the second half.
That game. But yeah, it was. I mean, they were talking about that constantly throughout the broadcast, and it was kind of funny because like at the end, Romo just rambles when there's space to fill. He just has to say something, and it's a 48-10 game, and they're just filling time, and he says, styles make fights, and this wasn't a good style matchup for the Bengals or something along those lines. And at that time, it's laughing because it's like Jake Browning's in there at quarterback struggle. Actually, they had already switched quarterbacks by that point, but the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow anymore. They're getting stomped out. It's a complete blowout. And you say something like that, it sounds like kind of funny. But I actually think there was some truth to it, to your point of like, this was one of the worst possible teams in terms of the style they were going to play, their strengths against the Bengals' weaknesses. To be trying to implement a new quarterback and get yourself going and get on the right track, this was a very tough place and team for them to try to do that against. Now, that being said, do you think the margin of defeat makes the front office rethink their plan at all about, we're confident in Jake, we're moving forward with Jake? Do you think there's been any, no, we need to do something drastically different here?
I don't. No, I don't. I don't at all. I think they believe Jake Browning is going to win games for them. The thing is, Joe Burrow can go win games. I guess for Jake, it's just don't go lose games. And can you argue, did Jake lose it with the pick 6? Maybe. But, I mean, do I want to get you rid of Jamar Chase because he fumbled? I mean, there's so much finger of blame to point in this game that I just think you collectively go, watch the film, make the corrections, and then blow it up and forget about it because it's one of 17 games. The thing is, you can't let that performance linger. And I think that's the takeaway for me.
I think you can do that with most of it, but it doesn't feel like the running problems are going away. It doesn't feel like they're going to be able to snap their fingers and all of a sudden be able to run the ball. Is that just an offensive line stinks problem?
It's an offensive line coach stinks problem. I mean, he was the offensive line coach for a last team in the league last year running the football as well. I mean, it's a consistent issue over the last few years with the run game. I mean, what they've done is, and I get it, they've basically gone and gotten a bunch of pass blockers because what is their main thing they want to do is what?
Pass the football.
Pass the football.
Let Joe play with empty.
Right. So here's the problem that you have at the moment, unfortunately. Orlando Brown Jr. looks washed up. I'm sorry for that. I like the guy. He's a good guy. I think the signing was the right signing. He got hurt last year. He doesn't look right. He looks awful. All-pro, world Dalton Risner that everybody was pounding on the stump for stinks. I mean, God love him. He's on the street for a reason. He stinks. Marius Smith is barely into his 2nd season of playing. Ted Karras doesn't look very good. I think the only reason they extended him is they don't have a center in the pipeline. And Dylan Fairchild's a rookie. There's your offensive line. And I go back to the thing from last week. Everybody talks about they keep neglecting the offensive line. No, they haven't. They signed Orlando Brown Jr. Any of you listening to this podcast who did not want Orlando Brown Jr. signed, raise your hand. Don't see any hands raised. Isn't that interesting? Anybody who thinks that drafting Marius Mims was the wrong thing, raise your hand. Okay. Right guard, yeah, it's issue. Lucas Patrick, the couple of drives he was in, the best running drive they've had this year, guess who the right guard was? Lucas Patrick. Do they miss him?
Maybe. But look, I think there is a difference between they have addressed it in previous years, which I said last week's podcast. I think they haven't. It's a lazy narrative to say that they haven't tried with the offensive line, because they absolutely have gone out and landed big name free agencies. They've gone against their typical MO of how they operate in the offseason to do things like that ever since the Super Bowl year. But this past year, they didn't do that with the offensive line. They did avoid it. And I think there were legitimate reasons for that. You're paying a bunch of other positions. You're trying to negotiate high value contracts with T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. Right. And there's a lot going on. And there are legitimate reasons for why maybe they didn't do it. But I do think it's fair to say this is the year that they really left themselves a disaster on the offensive line.
Did they, though? Again, you have Orlando Brown Jr., who is a Pro Bowl player. You like Ted Karras. You have a first-round right tackle. You drafted a third-round left guard. That's a premium draft pick, in my opinion. Okay, can we agree on right guard? Sure. Was Lucas Patrick a meh? I don't know. I think he was their best run blocker. And now he's out, and all I heard was, gotta go. Why haven't they signed Dylan Reisner or Dalton Reisner? Well, you know why? You're seeing why.
Yeah, and that's fair. The whole Dalton Reisner thing, I think everyone knew he's not great. I do think there was an argument to maybe try to bring him earlier than the week before the season started, and maybe that would give him a fighting chance out there if he wasn't going to be good to begin with.
What was he asking for price wise? If it was too much and you said, no, that price point isn't going to work it didn't work for anybody else in the league. He was on the street for a reason, man.
Right. It's hard for me to believe the amount that they saved was worth it now, especially that Joe Burrow sitting on the sideline. But whatever. I mean, that's not the end of the world, and that's not the decision that defined their offseason or this team. But I do think going into this year, there was an obvious hole that they needed at least one more lineman. They didn't go out and fill that issue. And in addition to that, you also had okay, now this guy, maybe Orlando Brown's falling off. Ted Karras isn't as good as he was even the last few years, and that wasn't great to begin with. And these young guys do stink. So you already had the hole you didn't address, and then other things started going wrong, and it left you with the disaster. And that is what happens when you don't prioritize things and draft them. But to your point, this was the first year that they didn't really do that. I think they've done a good job of trying to do their best and put as much resources as they can while still having a really talented offense around that offensive line.
I believe I read this stat last week. This was, I think, going into week 3, so I don't think it includes week 3. But I think the highest priced free agent guard, and I can't remember who it was, is actually ranked last in PFF grade. I mean, that tells you how inexact this stuff is, man. It's just so. I go back to, is this schematics in the run game? Is it really just the offensive line is that bad that they aren't really run blockers because they're drafting for the pass? It's something Zach Taylor and Dan Pitcher have to figure out fast, because you can't. 3 weeks of this now is to the point where something has to change, whatever that is. I mean, they went to heavy personnel. Maybe, put 4 wide receivers out there, spread out the defense, and maybe you run the ball that way. I know what they were trying to do on Sunday. They were trying to go 2 tight ends, put bigger bodies in there, use extra block. What that does is I think it condenses the run game. I think sometimes that's the reason you run out of 4 wide sets, is you spread the field out. They got 6 guys in the box, and it's a much lighter box to run into. Maybe you go that route.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do to get this running game back on track. And it feels like until you're able to do that at least somewhat, Jake Browning's going to be fighting for his life, man. This is you're really making it hard on him if you can't get him into manageable situations on 2nd and 3rd down. One of the other big topics of conversation that came up this week as it relates to Jake Browning, the offense, was there was a big move at a quarterback spot in New York. The Giants benched Russell Wilson for Jackson Dart. A lot of people are now talking about Russell Wilson's available. Giants probably won't ask much for him. He only costs about $2 million in terms of payroll that you're going to add. What's your response to the Bengals should go get Russell Wilson hype?
This locker room doesn't need a narcissistic, washed up hack. Okay, that's my take on it. I mean, it doesn't. And listen, I know people.
Bengals Nation, let's ride.
Look what he did last week or last year against the Bengals in Cincinnati. Yeah, he dinked and dunked it, and Jermaine Pratt couldn't tackle. Okay. Then the second time they played him, Russell Wilson stunk. The Steelers stunk down the stretch. How did he do in the playoffs? They were terrible. He is washed up. Don't give me 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys. You know what? Cowboys are horrible on defense. Horrible. And 1 week after he had this big game against Dallas, he gets benched. So what does that tell you? They're ready to move on quickly. I get that they're in a complete rebuild mode in New York, but 4 games in, you're starting the rookie already? What's that tell you?
And I think what you just said is the exact experience that you would be hoping for with Russell Wilson. If you went out and got him, the best you can hope for, in my opinion, at this point, is that he has a couple of big games left. Like he's the guy that can still put up a 350-yard passing game with 3 touchdowns. And like he might have those numbers once or twice more throughout the season because you have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase around him and Chase Brown and all of that. But to consistently win and a guy that's going to lead you to the playoffs and make you feel like you have a better shot at this thing to contend, he's just not that guy. I mean, he hasn't been that guy for a while, to be quite honest.
Correct. No, I mean, he hasn't. He wasn't that guy in Denver. He wasn't that guy in Pittsburgh. He isn't that guy in New York. So this is not. So the Bengals would be the 4th team for him in the last 3 years. Does that not speak volumes?
And the other part of that is you mentioned the narcissistic thing. I mean, it does seem like people really don't like him. It does seem like his teammates do not enjoy playing with him or want him around. So I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know about bringing that guy in here.
Yeah, and I will say the Bengals system, Zach Taylor was talking about that he thinks that, hey, our system is easy enough for smart guys to come in and pick up right away. But at the same time, just from a terminology standpoint, why not? But at the same time, you're going to bring a guy in and try to have him pick up your offense and hit the ground running like that. No, you've invested time into Jake Browning, and you believe in Jake. They believe in Jake Browning. They do. He had a bad game. So did everybody else.
I believe that the Bengals front office believes in Jake Browning. The narrative that all his teammates around him are super confident in him, that kind of went out the window for me after last week's performance. I'm like, okay, well, I don't believe
in Jamar Chase anymore.'s not reliable. He fumbles the football.
I get where you're going, but those two guys aren't the same. And I think, look, there's a reality that happens mentally, whether it's subconscious or conscious, that when you lose one of the 3 best players in the NFL and you drop down to a guy who's a backup, you feel differently about it. I mean, you're just going to, and I think we saw some of that. One of the other things that have come up, not just the Russell Wilson trade idea, but insiders have talked about the Bengals possibly fielding calls for Trey Hendrickson. Now, if the Bengals season starts going the wrong way, Trey Hendrickson's got the whole contract thing that's still basically on a year-to-year basis. Do you consider trading him away? At what point would you consider that, Skinny?
Day before the deadline or day of the deadline? I'm waiting until the very last second to do that. I mean, the season would have to go really haywire for that to happen, and it may. And so if it does, yeah, I would consider doing that at the trade deadline if the season going haywire, but I'm sure as heck not doing it today or tomorrow or next week. Even if they lose at Denver, I'm not doing it. Hell, even if they lose to Denver and Detroit, I'm not doing it.
If the 49ers came to you, they lost Bosa. If they came to you and they're like, we'll give you a first and a third this year and a second and 27 for Trey Hendrickson right now, you don't listen to that?
No, I'm not caving on a season at 2-1 because you lost ugly in Minnesota. No.
What else do you have from this week or this current Bengals team? I have 2 other kind of off topics.
No, go ahead. Yeah. I mean, I think we've wrapped that game up.
Okay.
I mean, listen, and I'm not making you fumble 5 times on the road. You are going to probably suffer a historic loss, and they did, and they deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, they did not deserve to get inside the historic number. They deserved to lose in historical fashion. They did.
I agree with that. Yeah. The turnover battle was it. That was the story of the game. You had no chance after that point, whether it was Joe Burrow out there or Jake Browning.
I wish I could remember Paul Dehner Jr. on Mo Egger's show yesterday. He looked up a stat. I wish I could remember exactly what the number was, but teams that have been -5 turnover margin on the road in the last, whatever the hell it was, 10 years, maybe it's longer than that, whatever it is, are like 3-104. So, I mean,
wait, there's 3 winners. I'm surprised by that.
I am too, actually. But I mean, what does that tell you? And I think he said half of the winners won by 20 points or more. So you lose by 5 turnover margin, you're going to get your ass kicked. And they did.
Yes. One thing that I just found funny, I don't really know what to say about this. I just find it funny. So I was going to bring it up is, do you follow Marty Brennaman on Twitter?
I do not.
So I think his Twitter accounts is one of the more funny things just because he talks like, any one of us or any fan would for the most part. Like he'll fire back at people with snarky responses occasionally. Or in this case, he responded about a Bengals thing where he said, what is unacceptable is Bengals ownership. This football team is a joke, and the main reason is the unwillingness of ownership to spend the money necessary to make this team a contender. As I said, it's a joke. I don't really want to dive into his analysis there. I just think it's funny that Marty Brenneman is like out tweeting things like this still.
Has he fired that same line at Bob Castellini and Reds ownership, where there is no salary cap and you can spend what you want to spend?
It is interesting. I don't think he's gone as hard after them. They did just give him a statue there. So, I mean, it's probably maybe wait a year before he starts going in on the Reds ownership. But
that's a clown take. I mean, they've spent money. You may not agree that they've spent it wisely.
I'm not really arguing the merits of the take. I just think
if you're going to go in on that, Marty, go in on Bob Castellini and his group, would you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he's been pretty critical of the Reds too, but not to this level, obviously. Yeah. This is I just like that Marty will fire these takes off randomly. And also, it's funny, if you didn't listen to the Reds on radio previously, I don't know that you would necessarily know that Marty Brenneman's gone, like that he's retired and gone. He's been in the local news and media and airwaves and talked about the last few months as much as anyone, I feel.
Yeah, no, I respect the heck out of Marty. I think that's an awful take, to be quite honest with you.
Also, something that was tough to hear for a lot of people, I think, but certainly fans of my age, is Rudy Johnson passed away at the age of 45. If you're in my era, like right in that, mid 30s to 40s range, the Bengals teams that you probably relate most to are those Chad Johnson, Carson Palmer, Rudy Johnson years where they had a little bit of success. And Rudy was he was never the main guy or looked at as the main guy, but he was kind of like the heart and soul, it felt like, for a lot of those teams. I think a lot of people really loved him.
I mean, I did that 25 years of Paycor, the top 25. Rudy was in that group, man. I put him in that top 25. He earned it. I mean, this is a guy that he was a big part of that offense. And, some of the circumstances, it sounds like, of what might have happened to cause his death is really sad. And again, it shows you that football's scary, boy. I mean, I don't think a lot of times, and probably I'm as guilty as anybody else, look at these guys as human, but they are, man. And this sport takes a freaking toll. I know people were critical of Andrew Luck when he retired. He just said, I got tired of rehab, and I got tired of having surgery and rehabbing from that surgery. Can't blame him.
And it was this whole thing, right? This scare of what comes later. If I keep letting my brains get battered around and deal with the CTE stuff. Now, I haven't seen confirmation. Do we know exactly what happened, or was it just sort of the rumor that he was dealing with mental health issues and CTE stuff potentially?
It's the latter, but that seems to coincide with potential CTE. I mean, it's
and I mean, him only being 45,
him only being 45,
something happened there.
It's so sad. So I had somebody ask me this question, maybe on Asking Anything, I don't know, a month ago, whatever, said, what was one of the worst takes you ever had? And I will tell you, one of my Rudy Johnson takes back in my radio days was probably one of the worst I ever had. I loved Rudy Johnson in college at Auburn. I mean, I thought this guy is a really good looking back. Then watching him for his early part of the pros, I'm like, he's too slow to ever be a great player. And I think I said that, like, he's too slow to ever be a lead back. Well, I was wrong. I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong, because Rudy was great.
He was slow. I mean, he never looked like your typical running back, but man, he just fell forward every time. You didn't knock that guy back. It was like he's getting 2.5 to 3 yards, even if you hit him at the line of scrimmage. And then a lot of times he went on for more than that. He was just a hard runner, man. I mean,
can you imagine? He holds the Bengals single game record for carries in a game. He carried it 43 times in a game. Can you imagine day and age, handing it to, well, if you handed it to Chase Brown 43 times, he'd get 86 yards at the rate they're going. But can you imagine today's day and age, a back getting 43 carries?
No. Shout out to the big boys like Ron Dane and Rudy Johnson who could tote that rock, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, R.I.P. Rudy Johnson. He was definitely one of my favorite players. I only had 2 jerseys ever during my Bengals fandom. I had a Rudy Johnson orange authentic, and then I had a Chad Johnson black replica jersey at one point. But I was not a jersey guy, but Rudy was my guy. So this was
I think,
to hear that news.
I think there's a lot. I listened to Mo and Paul yesterday. It's kind of a little bit of their generation too, and they kind of had the same sentiment you did. Those always hit everybody the hardest. And it's just if this was anything self-inflicted, it just again shows you how scary this damn game is, and you shouldn't ever forget that.
It is. On one hand, it was like kind of nice to see from a fan's perspective, but I do hate the idea that that thing happens with Rudy Johnson, and all these people are saying all these cool things about him here, about like how much they loved watching him, how much he meant to their childhood, whatever. And that was neat for me to see because it was like relatable. I felt that way too. But then you think about him, and it's like, man, you wish he could have heard all these sentiments because he probably wasn't thinking a lot about that in the last few years.
That's a very good point.
All right, let's switch gears here to the Reds. Tough to switch after that topic, but the Reds and the Mets went into Tuesday night tied for the final wild card spot with the Arizona Diamondbacks just a game behind both of them. The Reds lost. The Mets and Diamondbacks won, so the Reds are back behind the Mets by a game and tied with the Diamondbacks with 5 games to go here. Skinny, that game felt like the Reds season in a nutshell in a lot of ways. You get your hopes up, and then right away they just kind of rip it out of your soul and play a boring game where they're behind the 8 ball and kind of lifeless. Let's start with the crowd, because they did the whole packed GABP.
Yep.
It was certainly a good crowd for Tuesday night in September, what the Reds normally get. But I was surprised that it wasn't more full. I thought this was going to be like, oh, this is a playoff game for the Reds. Do you think it was raining earlier in the day and it's a Tuesday night? Or do you think people have kind of given up on this team already? It's like, you need more than just being tied for the 3rd wild card spot.
Yeah, 30,000 on a 2. To make that, listen, you get a chunk of your fan base from season ticket sales, right? And they don't have a ton of those. I think the fact that you had that many people on a whim, they had 29,000. We'll just round it up to 30,000 on a Tuesday night. I think that's pretty damn good that people on a whim said, yeah, I'm going to go to the ballpark tonight. I don't know what else you expect of them. Again, these are things that in life, to do something on a whim, that's hard to do. Again, a lot of this comes, if you're a season ticket holder, you're already invested in that. So you're probably going to go, or at least your seat is already accounted for. So I think that was pretty damn good.
No, I'm just thinking more. I'm not criticizing anyone here. I'm more so just thinking about like Clinchmas or different times where it's felt like, hey, there's a huge game where the Reds have a chance. There haven't been many of those in my entire lifetime, but certainly in the last 10 years, it feels like those games have been really well attended. It's like a fully sold out, loud, rocking place. This was not that. It was a good crowd, but a lot of open spots, even in the lower bowl. I was expecting a little bit more of the playoff atmosphere. And then, of course, you get down 4-0 right away, and it kind of takes the wind out of the fan sails. There's not a lot to cheer about there. Well, did you blame Tito at all for not opting to use Hunter Green in this situation so he would get a second bite at the apple given the off day?
Yeah, no, I get it. Because you could have gotten 2 starts out of Hunter this week, right? Last night and Sunday if you needed it. But I'm okay with it. Hunter threw 109 pitches on Thursday in the complete game. I think, the other part is if you do make the playoffs, I don't think you just want to make the playoffs just to make it. Wouldn't mind having Hunter Green start game 1 of the playoffs. Right. So kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But
you can line him up against Skeens tonight, right?
Brady Singer had been pitching really well. And, he had the awful first and then kind of settled in after that. And, you are allowed to score more than 2 runs. At least they scored more than 1. Good for them. Congratulations to them. But this offense is just, it is so putrid. It's ridiculous.
Were you surprised that they didn't run more?
Yeah, I am. I'm always surprised they don't run more.
Because, it seems like they're that's what they were built for originally. They don't have the power. And they were in situations multiple times where it's like, just ground into a double play.
I think the last 3 innings, 7th, 8th, and 9th all ended with double plays, did they not?
Yeah, and it's kind of, I'm not saying Ellie wasn't trying to run a little bit there in the 9th, but it was surprising to me that they weren't being more aggressive, especially with the catcher that was back there for the Cubs.
For the Pirates, you mean? Yeah,
the Pirates, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I wish they were. I think they are built to run more, and they just don't.
Yeah, it's a little strange, I feel like.
This would be such a Reds thing to do this season, right? To sweep the Cubs, get yourself into a spot, and then somehow lose this series to the Pirates. I'm not saying they will, but that would be this season in a nutshell. And then go to Milwaukee and salvage things.
It just feels like this thing is because the Reds aren't living this in a vacuum. The Mets are basically doing the same thing to their fan base right now.
Correct, right.
So it's like it doesn't feel like this thing is going to be over until the final day.
And then you watch Arizona's going to pass them both.
They might. They really might, because it doesn't seem like the Reds or the Mets are interested in figuring this out.
Yeah, no, it's the other part too is I'm just trying to figure out this whole Sal Stewart usage thing. Can't we play him more?
Yeah, the whole idea, I thought, when they brought they talked about this, they were waiting to bring him up, And they're saying like, we want to make sure he's playing every day. And then they brought him up. We're going to play him every day. And then they bring him up, and it's like been kind of strange the way they've gone about this.
Yeah, it's been odd to me. I get the whole we're trying to play some platoon stuff, and Tito has an unwavering love that I don't understand for Gavin Lux. I like Gavin Lux. He's a nice 12th player. He's not a number 3 hitter in anybody's lineup at any level.
I would agree with you there. So I think this was an Ask Skinny Anything question. We can just do it now, though. What your final prediction here on the Reds? We're not going to talk again, I don't think, before this is over. So do you think they can pull it off and sneak in?
I do. I honestly do. I think they can pull this off. I think they win the last 2 games of the Pirate series as we record this on a Wednesday morning, which means you have to beat Paul Skeens, but you're doing it with Hunter Green. And I think somehow they go to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's just playing out the string, right? They got. I mean, I guess they're playing for seed. Maybe I got to look closer to where they are with Philly at the moment. But I do. I think they find a way to pull this off. I think they're going to lead you to your point to the very last day and somehow pull this off. All
right, there you go. Let's
what a win by the Mets, though. I mean, they're down 6-1 on the road, and the way they've been playing, that felt like okay, you're still going to be tied after tonight, and then you look up and they win 9-7. You're a game behind all of a sudden.
Yeah, they're talking about on the Reds broadcast how the loudest cheer of the night was when they flashed the Mets score up there early on and they were down by a bunch. The Reds fans got all into that. And then not only did the Reds go on to lose the game, but the Mets also come back and win it. So
by the way, in Minnesota, it was late in the game, and I have NFL GSIS up that gives you stats as the game's going on, but it also has all the scores of the other games. And I'm looking, and I see the Cleveland score go to 13-10 final, and I clicked on that real quick to see what happened, kicking the field goal. I turned to a couple people, I go, holy cow, Cleveland just came back and won. And all of a sudden, you could hear the crowd start to cheer a little bit. I'm like, oh, I think they're just now finding out. And then they put the score up on the scoreboard, and that place rocked. It's crazy how much certain fan base, like you hate certain other teams, and obviously Minnesota has a long disdain for Green Bay.
Yeah, those fan reactions when you're in the stadium for other scores is always funny to me. I like that. All right. Let's get to we'll go straight into our pick'em segment here because we really don't have any college football to recap. We'll talk about the matchups here.
I will give you one quick college one from this past weekend.
What do you got?
So a buddy of mine, I'm in a league where he picks 12 college games. You got to pick them against the spread, confidence point wise, like your most confident gets 12. And then we pick every NFL game. And so he picks 12 college football games out each weekend. And last weekend, and he went to Minnesota with me. So he stayed with me. We're in the hotel watching the game, this particular game before we went out that night. So it was the Auburn-Oklahoma game. And on our sheet, Auburn was getting 6 points. So Oklahoma scores a touchdown to go up by 5. They go for 2, don't make it. Did you see how that game ended by chance?
No, I didn't. I was at a golf outing.
The Auburn quarterback, because they were backed up like it was 4th and like 30, 4th and forever on their own 5. He drops back in the end zone. Safety for the cover.
Wow.
And I had the Auburn side getting 6. My buddy had the Oklahoma side laying 6.
That's an all-time cover right there.
That is an all-time cover.
Yeah. All right. Let's we were 1-1 last week. All we had was the Bengals game to go off of. Both of us went 1-1. You are now 12-8. I am 10-10. Your teaser missed because of the Colts beating up on the Titans. Other than that, you would have had it. Your Bears pick was a great one. They won that game outright. So I was wrong there. But my best bet with Vanderbilt, 27.5 over Georgia State, covered once again. They won 70-21.
So, Rick, along those lines, I mean, another thing with a couple guys, we put some money in a pot, and you have to pick one game a day. It's called Survivor. It's on the website covers.com. And that night, I'm like, you know what? Because I didn't make this play just myself, that's going to be my Survivor pick. I'm going to take Rick's word for it. By golly, it was an easy one. You're right.
My best bets are 4-0, Skinny.
Yep.
People are riding them. All right, so we've got Saturday at noon. The Bearcats are back in action at Kansas. Kansas is a 5.5-point favorite. The total is 55.5. What do you got on the Bearcats this week, Skinny?
And that line, as I look at it, Rick, well, use your 5.5 number, but it's down to 4.5 actually as we speak. But we'll use the 5.5 number. I think Kansas is good. I mean, their only loss was to Missouri, and they were in that game. They lost 42-31, but they were in that game the whole way, led it for chunks of it. I think Kansas is a nice team. I just don't know about UC. I mean, Nebraska's meh, in my opinion, and they played them toe-to-toe. I'll give them that, but you still lost. The last 2 games told you nothing about the Bearcats, the Bowling Green game or the god-awful Northwestern State game. And now you're going to go on the road in the Big 12? I think Kansas wins this one easily. I'm going to go Jayhawks 30, UC 17.
So that is Kansas and the under there at 47. That's going to separate us. I have Kansas and the over. I like Kansas 35, Cincinnati 24. I'm still showing 5.5 at FanDuel, so I'm not sure where you're getting the 4.5 line at.
Well, it's on my CBS Sports app at 4.5.
Gotcha. All right. Maybe they're using Caesars or something, but either way.
I think to your point, they actually do. I think you're right.
Okay. Well, I think I'm good with 4.5 or 5.5. Neither one of us are even close on that line, so it doesn't matter. I'm with you. I mean, I think this is a big game for Cincinnati. This will tell us something. If they play well in this game, then you have a lot more optimism all of a sudden as a UC fan. I don't expect that to happen. I think this is going to be a tough one on the road, and we'll start to see it unwind a little bit here for the Bearcats. Saturday at 3:30, we've got Ohio State at Washington. The Buckeyes are an 8.5-point favorite. The total is 52.5. Obviously, you had the big Texas game, but this is another nice challenge for the Buckeyes early on.
It's a really good challenge for Ohio State. Defense does travel. At 8.5 is a big number to me. I'm going to go Ohio State 23, Washington 17. So Washington and the under.
I think the offense might not be there yet. I think they might be conservative with Julian Sayin on the road again with this game. But I think that defense is so good, it's not going to matter. I could see defensive scores or at least short fields being set up by the defense playing well and dominating this game. I'm going 35-14, Ohio State in the under for me. Saturday at 7:45, we've got Kentucky at South Carolina. Another interesting matchup. All three of the local games are pretty big-time matchups this week. Fun to watch. South Carolina is a 6.5-point favorite. The total is 46.5.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Kentucky yet. I mean, I thought they played a pretty good Ole Miss team toe-to-toe for the most part. That was encouraging. Kind of got a quarterback that looked reputable in the Eastern Michigan game. They do have a coming off.
Boley is starting this week.
What's that?
Boley is starting again this week.
Yeah. South Carolina is a mess on the offensive line. I think they had -8 yards rushing
against Vandy
this past week. I mean, Norris Sellers is getting the living daylights beaten out of him. I'm going to give Kentucky to pull off the upset. I don't even know if it is a huge upset. I'll go Kentucky 23-20 on the road.
All right, so Kentucky and the under for you. I don't think South Carolina is very good. I think this should be a good game. I can't see Kentucky winning this game on the road. I'm going to go South Carolina 24, Kentucky 17. So I'm going South Carolina and the under. And that brings us to the Monday night game at 8:15. Bengals at Broncos. Broncos are a 7-point favorite. The total is 43.5.
I think the Broncos have been overvalued all year. I think everybody saw that playoff team last year, and they kind of were the chic pick to maybe be the West Division champs, and I've never thought that. I didn't even have them making the playoffs. I do think they win. I think it's like a tough spot for the Bengals to fall back into, but I do think it'll be a fairly close game. I'll go Denver 24, Bengals 20.
All right, so Bengals and the over just barely by 0.5 point. I'm going Broncos to win this one by 10. 27-17 is my total. Broncos and the over for me. All right, that brings us to our favorite bet of the week. I can go first here because I've got a quick and easy one. We were talking about the Ohio State-Washington game. I mentioned I think Ohio State's going to be conservative here, probably try to establish the run game early and take some pressure off of Julian Sayin, rely on the defense. I think Bo Jackson has taken over as that number one running back. His total for rushing yards, Bo Jackson, the freshman running back for Ohio State, his total is at 41.5 yards for this game. Take the over all day. Bo Jackson, 41.5 over against Washington.
All right, I'm gonna skip the teaser portion of the program and just go with a single one this week.
Oh, what do we got?
When I saw this line, I thought it was just a bad line. I do think Curt Cignetti's a hell of a coach. He'll tell you he's a hell of a coach, right? Just look me up, right?
This is Indiana you're talking about.
Yeah, and Indiana looked great against Illinois.
Unbelievable.
7.5 at Iowa, where the game is going to probably be played as conservative. Iowa's getting a touchdown and a hook at home. Their only losses to a really good Iowa State team, 16-13. I'm going to take the 7.5. Listen, I hate Iowa football. It's probably irrational. Most people do. But I feel like that feels like to me like Vegas is saying, hey, don't forget what Indiana just did. Okay, great. They did. They beat the crap out of Illinois. That game snowballed. And I do think Indiana's good. I mean, their quarterback's been great. But now you're going on the road for the first time this season at Iowa. No, you ain't winning by more than a touchdown, bro.
Well, isn't this the ultimate, like, getting too high on yourselves, feeling full of yourselves, and going on the road and getting humbled a little bit moment, trap game situation for them? I mean, like, I'm with you. When I saw this line, I was like, oh, over a touchdown. I don't want to bet it because I do think Indiana's really good. So I'm not going to sell you on this. I'm too scared of betting against Indiana right now. They burnt me last week. I had Illinois in a teaser, taking them up to like double digits and got screwed there. So I'm not betting it this week, but I get where you're coming from on that one. I see that logic 100%. I could totally see this being a trap game. I wouldn't be that shocked if Iowa ruined their entire season right here.
Agreed. No, agreed. And you're going to give me a touchdown and a hook? Sign me up.
All right. So Bo Jackson over 41.5 and Iowa plus 7.5, the two favorite bets of the week, which have been money if you've been following our favorite bets this year. They've been good. All right. Ask Skinny anything. You got a couple questions to get to here. Will Jake Browning lead the Bengals to the playoffs, Skinny?
It's a great question. I think he's capable of it, but if they can't run the football, I don't even know if Joe Burrow is going to be able to lead them to the playoffs. I don't. I mean, as much as Joe Burrow can pass you to a lot of wins, the first two Joe Burrow games weren't all that great, were they, Rick? I mean, they just weren't. The Browns game and
they were 2-0.
Jacksonville game.
No, you're right. They were 2-0, but Burrow wasn't setting the world on fire. And that's the problem. This team looked like it had a lot of issues to sort out with Joe Burrow.
Correct.
And now you don't have Joe Burrow to cover up those issues. So
I mean, this is not. This is going to sound terrible. I mean, let's not forget also the Jacksonville game. When Joe Burrow got hurt, they were losing 17-10. So Jake Browning did lead you to 3 touchdowns in the second half to win that game. He did throw 3 picks. I get you. You're right. He's thrown 5 picks in 2 games. 4 of them are inexcusable. One of them, Jamar Chase blamed on himself, but 4 of them are inexcusable. And so I get there's issues there, but I just go back to I don't even know if Joe Burrow couldn't do it last year, Rick. Remember, he had an MVP season, right? MVP season, and probably would have been the MVP if they'd made the playoffs, and they still didn't make it.
No, I think that's closer to what I feel is that with Joe Burrow, it was still going to be a fight to make the playoffs. Without him, I really don't think Jake Browning's going to be able to do it, just because I don't think this team is built for that. I think this team was built for Joe Burrow being one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL, and that gives you enough of a chance to win any game that you're in, and you hope you make the playoffs, and then you get hot. And without him doing that, I don't think this is a playoff team. If you could give the Reds any former player right now for these last 5 games, who would you give them?
Give me Joe Morgan because he gets on base. He's got a little bit of pop. He's probably got more pop than anybody else on this team other than Nelly De La Cruz, and he'll run. And
he could sit your boy Matt McClain's ass down because he stinks. What's going on with him, by the way?
I don't. I just think this season needs to get out of his head. I really do. Just get this season out of your head.
The Marte year. We'll forever have that now that we've seen Noel V. Marte do it, right? He sat out for that whole, or sat out, comes back, stinks for an entire year, and then now he's back to normal. So
yeah, he's arguably their best hitter.
Yeah. With Homerama coming up, who is the one Cincinnati sports legend who Skinny would like to tour their home?
Oh my gosh. I would have no earthly idea. You know me, man. I'm not a starstruck guy by any stretch, so I honestly don't know.
Nor would you care at all about other people's worldly possessions.
Correct.
He's not an athlete, but Bootsy Collins has to have a sweet house, right? There's got to be some weird stuff going on there.
I'll say, I suppose.
You know who I heard had some interesting things going on?
I kind of like to tour Joey Votto's house just to see what weirdness is in there. Because there's got to be some weirdness in there somewhere. There's feel like a dungeon or something.
I think he's got like tranquil Japanese gardens and weird fountains and from other cultures and stuff.
That's my point, though. I'd like to see the weirdness that's in there.
Yeah, I think it's like normal weird, though. Like he thinks he's being deep or cultured. You know who I heard had some interesting stuff going on for real? Was Domata Peko.
That wouldn't shock me.
I heard he had some interesting rooms in his house for extracurricular activities.
Okay, Doma, go, baby.
Yeah, so allegedly. I don't know if that's true, obviously, but that's what I heard. All right, that's all we got.
Who would you go with?
Man. I mean, based on what I've heard, I'd like to see Domata's house. I think whoever is the richest guys, whoever had the most money is the houses you want to see, I think. So I would go Burrow, Votto, Chad
I
Johnson.
don't think Burrow would have anything interesting in his house, though.
I mean, he tried to buy a Batmobile.
He tried, but he didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Everyone just steals anything cool that he has. So
Well, that's a good point too.
yeah.
And then stupidly takes pictures in there.
Yeah. I mean, like Jamar Chase has to have a pretty cool house, right? He's going to be super rich. If he doesn't yet, he's going to have one.
He bought a house next to a friend of mine. So
really?
Neighbors. Yeah, they're neighbors. So maybe I'll ask him if he got to take a tour of Jamar's house.
Yeah, ask him how cool it is. Maybe we can change our answer here. I don't know. I'm like you. This one doesn't excite me that much, honestly. Like I don't get that excited about the idea of going in a rich person's house. Not that it's not great for them. I love their house, but it's just like there's not often that many things. One thing I do like to do is like when I'm hanging out with like really rich people or people who have like achieved cool things, I do like to kind of sample that lifestyle. It's like, oh, like I'm never going to have $30 million to do what they're doing, but like what part of this is worth it that I would want to try to scale down for myself. And the one thing that I have seen that like a lot of rich people's houses, the one feature that I really would like is just like a basketball court setup. Not even the indoor would be amazing, obviously, but even just a really, really nice outdoor with the proper court and everything. To me, those are like the nicest things I see at rich people's houses. Yeah, it's never usually like anything inside that's that cool.
I would say he's not an athlete, but he's a sports, I guess, icon in this area. If he still lived here, he doesn't. But back in the day, well, even if I go to West Virginia, going into Hug's house would be great because he's got a great array of booze. You know that.
The good stuff. I don't know if you drink as much as him. Do you keep like an actual good collection, or is it just like you're constantly rotating through so quickly it doesn't matter?
So he told a friend of mine that he used to coach with that literally when he had his DUI issue, that he doesn't go out drinking and driving anymore because he goes, I got the best bar in Morgantown in my house. And he told Dana Holgerson, apparently, hey, man, just do that. Don't go out and booze it up and drink. Just build yourself a great bar in your own house.
I mean, that's a legitimately good idea.
It is.
Yeah. The other guy.
I understand that's what he did.
Luke Fickell, I feel like his house was pretty cool before he left Cincinnati. Do you remember they did like some features on him and he had all those kids that were playing high school sports. And I think he built like a barn dominium sports complex thing where it was like indoor, outdoor, basketball, turf. You could do whatever in there. So that's the cool stuff I see.
Yeah. He's about to get a sizable check to invest with from Wisconsin.
He might be coming right back to that house.
He might be coming right back to that house. Yeah, that's a good point. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. That's all we got.
All right, brother. Thanks very much. Appreciate the questions. As always, for Rick Broering, I'm Richard Skinner. It's been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly Poe Pre edition presented by Blake, the Attorney Maislin.